boxing, a sport that's both glorious and corrupt. Primetime entertainment that draws millions and makes mega millions. A business in which fighters are exploited physically and financially. Game without rules that's reached a crossroads. Its biggest promoters caught in the headlights. Men like Don King, Bob Arum, and Cedric Kushner. Heavyweights at the heart of the heavyweight game, where a single punch can change everything, and often does. In the space of 1 year, 2 key events took place that threw a spotlight on the dark side of the ring and turned up the heat. That year ended in April 2001 with a fight between the reigning heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis and the relatively unknown Hasim Rahman, a boxer from the stable of promoter Cedric Kushner. If Rahman wins, Kushner could make millions. But one man is poised to get in his way.
I don't know, Charlie.
That man is Don King. The year began in April 2000, when the FBI brought to trial an official of one of boxing's biggest organizations. The FBI alleged their hidden camera caught Bob Lee Sr., president of the International Boxing Federation, the IBF, taking bribes to advance the interests of specific promoters and their fighters.
Okay.
We did bad shit. You paid them money and you got the advantage. So that's what, it only takes one person to corrupt the whole system, because then the other people got to pay just to keep the playing field level.
One of the promoters paying the bribes was Cedric Kushner. The IBF World Heavyweight title fight, April 2001. Hasim Rahman is a 20-to-1 outsider to win against defending champion Lennox Lewis.
It's magnificent when you have 2 finely conditioned athletes that step into the ring in the peak of condition, in the peak of shape, and they fight for the most coveted trophy of all, the heavyweight championship of the world. I broadcast almost 700 world title fights in my career, and every time I hear ring announcer Jimmy Lennon go, for the heavyweight championship of the world, I get goosebumps in my arm right now just hearing heavyweight championship of the world. There's nothing more exciting in the whole world of sport.
Heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis!
I was sitting ringside for the fight, and I remember watching the fight and being extremely happy with what I was seeing in terms of Rahman's performance. And towards the latter part of the 4th round, I started saying to myself, you're not such a bad guy. Why can't you win one of these real big ones? I just knew how important a win would be and what it could do for my company and ultimately for me personally.
On his side. He got a brand new heavyweight champion, and he's from the United States.
Suddenly Rahman threw this incredible punch, and I got totally out of my seat, and I raised my fists, and I said, yes, and Lennox didn't get up. And I sat down, I put my head down, and I was really emotional. And I realized that I had the great champion, and in a sense, my prayers were answered, and I was now going to accrue the benefits of 16 years of hard work and putting up a lot of money and just benefit from the enormity of the situation.
That one punch was the difference of him not being known for the rest of his life, and the fact that he's can make up to $14 million for his next fight. That's the difference. The lottery. Everybody wants to win the lottery. Rockman has won the lottery in boxing. Everybody's kissing up to Rockman. I mean, even prior to this conversation that we're having, no one even thought about Rockman. But now, all of a sudden, he's the man.
Being the man means elevation into the supercharged world of championship prize fighting. For more than a century, the heavyweight title has promised a level of fame and fortune unlike anything in professional sports. A spectacle rooted in public fascination with the scandal, brutality, and courage of the boxing ring.
Somebody once said that boxing is show business with blood. And that's what it is. It's entertainment. It's a form of entertainment, as well as being the most essential basic of competitive sports.
Thomas Edison, one of America's greatest inventors and a shrewd businessman, was among the first to recognize its potential. From the moment he invented the motion picture camera, prize fighting was a favorite subject. In 1897, he sold this film of a Jim Corbett fight all over the world. He understood that boxing had visceral appeal. Gentleman Jim Corbett was paid $4,700, a small fortune in those days. And Edison turned what was a huge profit of $30,000. By the 1920s, the money had escalated astronomically. When the legendary Jack Dempsey was fighting, a championship bout could pull in millions. One of the greatest extravaganzas ever staged was Dempsey versus the French sensation Georges Carpentier. The fight promoter built an 80,000-seat outdoor arena in Jersey City for the occasion. The social and business elite turned out, and fans paid as much as $60 a seat at a time when 25 cents could buy a meal. The total gate was an astonishing $1.6 million. The fight was heard across America in the first live coast-to-coast radio broadcast in history. Dempsey became a cash cow for his promoters. His last 5 fights produced ticket receipts of $8.5 million.
Suddenly, Dempsey whipped in some powerful punches, and down went Carpentier. 3 knockdowns in 1 round, end the fight.
A decade later, the boxing ring moved beyond a gladiatorial arena. It became a battleground for ideologies. Yankee Stadium, 1936. The great Joe Louis faced German Max Schmeling. The fight had racial overtones. Louis was pounded to his knees and defeated. Schmeling was held up by Hitler as the champion of supremacy. His victory was a Nazi propaganda coup. The rematch 2 years later became a symbolic battle of democracy versus fascism. But it was over in just 2 minutes when Louis landed a powerful right cross. Millions around the world were glued to their radios. But Joe Louis didn't go into boxing to fight for ideology. The son of a poor sharecropper, he was lured by the paycheck. He earned $5 million during his career. And it wasn't just the fighters who cashed in. By the 1940s, the gates were big enough to enrich everyone associated with the champion, from the managers who ran the boxers to the promoters who staged the fights, and the usual hangers-on.
Look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp.
The Gillette Cavalcade of Sports is on the air.
The technology of television ushered in a whole new era of profitability. The networks offered lucrative contracts to televise boxing. But the big money came from the closed-circuit broadcasts.
Let's listen to the referee.
When Muhammad Ali and George Foreman fought in 1974, each was paid $5 million, as much as Joe Louis made in his entire career. Boxing's biggest stars now end up in Las Vegas, and the casinos pay promoters serious money to put on the fights.